Welcome back, family. It is your host, Steph, and we are officially winding down season 8 of Murder in the Black. I just got our Spotify wrapped, and listen, it confirmed everything I already knew. Y'all show up, y'all support, and this community, we could not do it without you. If you're interested in some of behind the scene numbers, head on over to Instagram. I posted a few of the highlights so you can see exactly how this little podcast of ours continues to grow because of you. Now, our giveaway ended November 30th, and I'm still gathering all entries. Our 3 winners will be announced next Thursday, December 11th. Thank you to everyone who participated. Our YouTube family is growing, and I owe it all to you. And don't worry if you don't win, we're doing another giveaway at the top of the year. And as Christmas settles in and the holiday season takes over, we will be stepping into a short hiatus. During that break, we'll air rebroadcasts of some of your favorite episodes. And if you're part of our paid subscription family, you're still getting fresh episodes during the break. Mark your calendars. Our final episode of the year is coming December 19th. And yes, I'll keep reminding you every week, so don't forget. All right, y'all, now that we've caught up, let's get into today's true crime case. Have you guys seen A Thin Line Between Love and Hate? If you have, you already know where I'm going with this case today. But just in case you haven't, I got you covered with a brief overview. That movie is one of my favorites. I watch it every year. The 2 stars of this movie is Lynn Whitfield and Martin Lawrence. Lynn plays Brandy and Martin plays Darnell. You've got Brandy. She's beautiful, classy, lonely, carrying all this emotional baggage from men who did her dirty. And then Darnell strolls in thinking he's God's gift to women. He lies, does way too much, and treats her heart like a rental car. And when Brandy snaps, baby, she snaps. But here's the thing. In the movie, after all the drama and the attempted murder and the hospital scenes, the credits roll. Everybody goes home, life moves on. But in real life, when somebody's heart has been pushed past the edge, there's no fade to black, no dramatic music, it's just consequences. And today's case mirrors that movie in the most chilling ways, except instead of ending on a soundstage, this story ends inside the trunk of a car. Before we get into it, let me say this. Women get hurt, women get lied to, women get manipulated and mistreated over and over again. And society will turn around and call them crazy before they ever call them wounded. But being hurt is not permission to kill. 2 things can be true. Someone can break your heart, and you still can choose to walk away instead of taking a life. All right, fam, let's get into the murder of Officer Tony Hayes. Picture this. Tony Hayes doesn't show up to work after Labor Day. And immediately, folks are like, hold on, something's off. This isn't like Tony at all. He was a Memphis police officer, a Persian Gulf War veteran, a man who was always connected to his family. He also worked as a security guard at an apartment complex. And yeah, Tony also had a reputation. He was a ladies' man. He loved the ladies. Smooth, friendly, charming. So when he went missing, people start wondering, is this about a woman or something far more dangerous? His son tries calling him after his father is picking him up on September 4th to go to a Labor Day barbecue. And when his son couldn't reach him, then his son reached out to his mother, Tony's estranged wife. She calls, but receives no call back. She eventually starts to call around and she realizes that something's off. And she calls Tony's mother and implores her to file a missing persons report. Tony's mother does exactly that. And immediately, the Memphis Police Department starts to move into the direction of finding out where Tony was. When he doesn't show up to work the next day, they know something is off as well. It's unlike him to do a no call, no show. But instead of giving up, his estranged wife decides to do some more vetting, see if she missed a call. So she reaches out to Tony's girlfriend, Monique Johnson. And when she asks about Tony's whereabouts, Monique snaps and yells into the phone, "He's probably on a date with another woman." She had some more choice words after that. But is that what you say when your man's missing? Much like the beginning of A Thin Line Between Love and Hate, when the opening scene is Darnell in a pool, we have to backtrack. Start at the beginning. Monique Johnson was a correction officer, twice divorced, a woman who had already lived through enough relationship drama to last a lifetime. When she met Tony at the apartment complex where he worked as a security guard, she was impressed. He was handsome, charming, and it wasn't even her that initially met Tony. It was actually her 16-year-old son, Donald. And after they met each other's acquaintances, Tony immediately went in and pursued her and asked her for a number. And she felt, what's the harm in that? So they exchanged numbers. But when Tony called, she didn't immediately reach back out. She talked to some of her friends and family and was leery about entering into a new romantic connection. And the one thing her friends and family tried to encourage her to do was to go with the flow. It's okay. Just see where it leads you. There's no promise that this could go into a positive or negative direction. You don't know enough information. So go slowly. And with that push from friends and family, she decided to give Tony a call back. And that's when she also learned that her and Tony had similar situations and relationships. He also was twice divorced, wanted to go slow, wanted to build a real genuine connection. But the one thing that Monique implored of him from the beginning was that he be honest with her. And if he was seeing someone else, that he be upfront right now and let her know. She needed to be exclusive and needed to know that they were on the same page. He wasn't seeing anyone else. And he reassured her over and over. And so she eventually gave in to the new connection because, hey, they shared a lot of commonalities. She just wanted to see where this new connection would take her. They go out on dates, they're enjoying one another's company, and the budding relationship is sprouting. Monique eventually moves out of the apartment complex and buys a house for her and her teenage son. At first, things were stable. Then the inevitable shift. Tony started getting controlling. He was asking constantly, who was she talking to? Why didn't she pick up the phone? Where was she going? And much like before, when she initially made the love connection with Tony, she talked to her friends and family about this troubling control issue she was having. And her cousin said some sound advice. She says, it sounds like Tony is a person who's a married man and he's accusing you of cheating because he's the cheater. And guess what? Her cousin wasn't wrong. So Monique confronts Tony and asks him, are you seeing somebody else? Are you married? And he is honest. He says, yeah, I am married. Technically, I'm married. So what does that mean? Well, Tony was divorced once, and he was in the middle of a divorce with his second marriage. But he assured her that he and his wife had been estranged and separated for quite some time. So Monique decides she doesn't want to take any chances because when she asked him the first time to be forthright with her, he wasn't. And she decides to call his estranged wife, and she speaks to her. Tony's estranged wife confirms exactly what Tony said, that they had been separated for quite some time. They were in the middle of a divorce. And assured with this newfound information, feeling like everything now is out on the table, she decides to stay inside of the relationship. But this was not the end of the shift, because Tony kept getting calls late night and early mornings. And as a woman, there's a lot of speculation, frustration, but eventually that can lead you down the road to curiosity. And you remember what they said about curiosity? Well, it can sometimes kill the cat. So Monique gave in to that curiosity and decided to check his phone. And she found exactly what she was looking for. She found multiple women in his phone that he was pursuing. She snapped. And when I say snap, oh, baby, she snaps. She goes harder than Left Eye at that house, at Andre's house in Atlanta. She decides that she's going to put oil in his shoes, damage all of his clothes by cutting them up one by one, and then she keyed his car. She etches in with the key, bitch, because that's how she said he was acting. And when Tony comes home and sees all of this chaos and damage done to his personal belongings, well, he wants to try to make it work. But Monique claims that she's done. She wants nothing else to do with the relationship. She has reached her limit. They are not compatible, and he just won't stop cheating. But he makes a threat. He says, if you don't take me back and we don't work this out, then I'm going to file a police report for all the damage that you've done to my things. And with her being a correction officer, this could possibly cost her her job. And she stays. She stays out of the ultimatum and wanting to keep her job, but also out of love. She loved him. And out of the chaos, she really felt that they could salvage their relationship, and ultimately he would stop cheating so that there could be peace. Now, let me ask you guys a question. If you're in a relationship where someone threatens your livelihood to keep you from leaving, is that abuse or manipulation or a combination of both? And how do you walk away from something like that? Do you risk it all and possibly risk your job for the sanity of peace? Or do you stay? And I think that can be a complicated answer. But I'm asking you guys to type it out in the comment section, send a DM, let me know. What would you do? September 4th of 2006, Labor Day. Tony's son is waiting for his dad to take him to the barbecue, but Tony never arrives. And by the next day, Tony was missing for 24 hours. PD checks his precinct, nothing. His Lexus is gone from his house. There were no signs of foul play. And so they decide to talk to Monique. She is his girlfriend, after all. She claims that the last time she saw him was at 11 a.m. on September 4th. She mentions that he had some run-ins with some people at the apartment complex where he worked as a security guard. She really doesn't give a whole lot of information, but she doesn't seem concerned either. And this is unsettling to detectives, but is not a red flag. And so they ask her if she has any more information or has any more questions to give them a phone call back. But she never does. Detectives then, with no real leads, decide to subpoena Tony's phone records. And a text stands out from his phone. It was from a woman named Kim Chisholm, someone that they find out Tony had been casually seen. And when detectives call Kim, she says she sent him a text message on September 4th asking him if he wanted to go running. She was expecting to either hear back from him via text or phone call, but instead she gets a call from him, expecting it to be Tony, but it wasn't. And on that phone call, she hears a woman in the background and Tony screaming at each other. And so detectives are like, yeah, we need Monique to come back to the station to at least explain this situation, Lucy. She comes back in, and Monique, hearing this new evidence, immediately says, I don't know what happened to Tony. I have no idea. But as they continue to knock her down with pressure, she starts to crack. And they ask her, did something happen? Did you get in an argument? Did he attack you? What went wrong? And is he dead? And she pauses. They said, if he's dead, you could at least tell us where his body is. Let us tell his family. They deserve to know. And that's when she cracks under the pressure. And she wouldn't say where Tony was, but she said that she would take them to him. She drives them to an East Memphis apartment complex where Tony worked security and points to his Lexus. Detectives open the trunk, and Tony has been inside for days, decomposed under the hot Memphis heat. His skin was slipping from his bone, his eyes were bulging, and they could only identify him through fingerprint analysis. This wasn't panic. This felt methodical. Monique had two versions. When she finally got back down to the station, she explained what happened. She claimed that on September 4th, she spent the night over Tony's home. She was getting ready to go. She was in the bathroom and Tony's cell phone kept buzzing. And just like before, she decided to check his phone. And that's when she saw the text message from Kim. Now knowing that he was once again still cheating if he ever stopped, she decided to play it cool. She slipped the phone in her pocket before kissing Tony goodbye. Inside the car, she starts to drive home. She calls Kim and claims that Kim picked up the phone and said, hey, baby. And she said, this isn't baby. This is baby's baby. After she claims that the phone call dropped, but not before seeing Tony in the rearview mirror pulling up right as she's entering the garage. And that's when she starts to argue, which implies while Kim heard all this arguing in the background on the call. Tony's at her car door, begging her to open the door, that they can work it out, that they can figure out the situation. And that's when she decides to open the car door, and she says that Tony lunges at her. She grabs the gun that has been sitting on her passenger seat. Panicked because he lunged at her, she shoots him several times. She doesn't call 911. Instead, she calls her 16-year-old son, Donald, to help dispose of the body. After they dispose of the body and clean up, then they go to dinner with some of her friends and then go and see snakes on the plane. She saw snakes on a plane after she killed someone and had her 16-year-old help her dispose of the body. Wild. So detectives, they weren't sure of her story. They didn't know it to be true, but they have to confirm. They go and interview Donald now that he is an accessory after the fact. Donald tells them that he knows where the murder weapon is because his mother had him dispose of it, and they retrieve it. It was Tony's personal .40 caliber handgun. And he also identifies that he heard gunshots coming from the master bedroom and bathroom area, not the garage. Now, detectives return to Monique's home so they can try to match up the evidence to the initial story and see if what Donald said is true or not. And inside of the garage, they didn't find any signs of a struggle, no signs of cleanup. But when they went inside of Monique's home, inside of the master bedroom, bathroom area, there were two doors. And one door was mismatched. You know how you can have double doors leading into your bathroom area? Well, one door didn't match. They found a mop bucket with some staining as if someone obviously cleaned up. Now, her first story is falling apart. So they interview Monique again, and she changes everything. She said that the fight started in the garage and it moved upstairs. Tony pushed her and they got into a fight leading upstairs. And as they were in the bathroom, he pushes her, gets her against the wall, and then she grabs a gun from the closet. She claims that when Tony sees her grab the gun, he's kind of mocks her and says, "You're not going to shoot me. You're not going to do anything with that gun." And then he turns away from her and attempts to leave. And she said, right when he gets to the master bedroom door to exit, he turns around and lunges at her and charges her. That's when she fires the gun. And she then claims she doesn't remember a lot of details, but she blacked out. And Donald, her son, hears the commotion and knocks on the door. And she claims that she had this story, or the first version of her story, because she needed her son not to be a part of all of the mess, just the mess after. And after her son helped her dispose of the body and carry it downstairs, put it in the trunk, she drives to the apartment complex, drops off the body and his car. And then she goes to a lot where they had discarded doors and various hardware appliances that you could pick up. She replaces the door because there was a bullet lodged in one of the bathroom doors, which is why it mismatched, and she had to replace it. And then she proceeded to clean up. And afterwards, they went to dinner and to the movies. The police don't know what to think. They know that they're dealing with the person who at this time has at least lied twice to them, hasn't been forthright at all, didn't call for help, has included her 16-year-old son, and they are heavily dependent on what the autopsy reveals to help them understand this crime. And it's revealed during the autopsy that Tony was shot 6 times. 5 of those shots were in his back at a downward angle, meaning he was already on the ground when several shots were fired. Not panic, not fear, intent. On February 8th, 2007, she was indicted for first-degree premeditated murder. The trial took place in 2008, and prosecutors alleged she was jealous, she was done being lied to, she executed Tony out of jealousy and frustration, she involved her son, and she went out afterward like nothing happened. She wasn't remorseful. However, the defense alleged that Tony was abusive, that this was not the first time that Tony had struck her. He was violent, he was controlling, and she feared for her life. Now, Tony's family, especially his estranged wife, claimed that Tony was not violent. She had been married to him for a number of years, and whenever they would get into an argument, Tony would always leave. He never rose a hand to her. But on the stand, many family members in Monique's favor got on the stand to say that they found various bruises on her throughout her and Tony's relationship. But there was no photos, no police reports, no hospital visits that chronicled this alleged abuse from Tony. Now, prosecutors show that in May of 2006, there was this incident, a violent incident that wasn't perpetuated by Tony, but was perpetuated by Monique when she destroyed all of his property. And this suggested that Tony wasn't this aggressor that the defense was trying to make him out to be. In fact, it was Monique who was the aggressor. Monique took the stand on Valentine's Day of 2008, and she cried as she gave her testimony of the relationship and what took place and what ultimately happened on September 4th of 2006. On February 15th, the jury comes back, and they don't find her guilty of first-degree premeditated murder. They find her guilty of reckless homicide. That carried a 4-year maximum penalty. And guess what? Because she had a $1 million bond when she initially was arrested for this murder, she did not get out of jail. She had been in jail since 2006. Her trial took place in 2008, and the judge gave her 4 years. But because she had already served some time, she walked free on probation. Unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, she violated her probation 3 months after walking free. Donald, Monique's son, pled guilty to accessory after the fact and was given probation. Monique was released in May of 2009. Now, usually this is where our story would end. However, if you can't already tell, this story happened almost 20 years ago. And I have an update. Almost 20 years later, in 2023, Monique is arrested again for allegedly attempting to murder a new boyfriend. Police say he woke up to Monique pointing a handgun at him. She threatened to kill him. Shots were fired. He was hit in the shoulder and hand. She pulled a knife. He escaped. She allegedly took his phone and Apple Watch. Bloody clothes were found in her home. She went to work afterward, and she was arrested at her FedEx job. She was charged with attempted first-degree murder, 2 counts, domestic assault, theft of property, violation of an order of protection, felon in possession of a handgun, and her bond was $300,000. Now, the outcome of this, I searched high and low on the internet because I was absolutely shocked that she was rearrested for almost exact same thing she was convicted for. However, the outcome of this is unknown, and I'm unclear why, because this happened in 2023. We are sitting pretty almost at 2026. But if I get an update on this, you guys will be the first ones I tell. For our second listener question, do you believe the justice system failed by giving Monique a lesser charge in 2008? And did that decision put others at risk nearly 20 years later? Takeaway. This case hits heavy because it shows what unhealed pain can turn into. It shows how trauma can twist someone until they become dangerous. But let me be clear, pain is not a hall pass for homicide. Tony was a ladies' man, much like Darnell. Her 2023 boyfriend might have been too. But none of this is justification to kill. Red flags don't become green lights just because you're hurt. This case is a warning that we've heard a lot on Murder in the Black. When there are signs, you got to get up and get out. When you know that a person has shown themselves, whether they said it with their actions only, that's a clear indication for you to get out. Don't continue to wait for the situation to course correct itself. It's not. Don't try to heal someone who refuses to heal themselves, because you might think you're in a romance and realize you're in a thriller. Before we go, I want to remind you guys, although I know you do an excellent job at it all on your own, if you enjoyed this episode or any episode that you've heard in season 8 or past seasons, can you do me a favor? Can you send the link to your friends and family? Let them know that you enjoy this podcast. And if you particularly enjoy what you're hearing, a good way to say thank you for us is not to join paid subscription. It's simply to leave us a review, a 5-star review, wherever you enjoy our podcast, Apple or Spotify. Until next time, friends, this is Murder in the Black. Thank you.